Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this webinar on the Fulbright UK Scholar Awards. My name is Jessica McIver, and I am Head of Special Projects here at the UK Fulbright Commission in London. I'm really delighted to be joined today by our Senior Programme Manager for UK Awards, Sam Thompson, and our Fulbright alum, Dr. Hilary Bishop of Liverpool John Moores University. Before I give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, I wanted to start out with a few notes on the session today. And firstly, say thank you all for attending. I hope you find it useful and that it inspires you to think more about applying for a Fulbright Award. So today we will be giving an overview of the awards on offer through the UK Scholar Programme for research, lecturing, and professional projects in the US. We will then be getting some insight from Hilary on her experience as a Fulbrighter to Glucksman House in New York University. And then you will have an opportunity to ask us your questions using the Q&A function. Please do feel free to type your questions into the Q&A throughout, and we will try and get to them throughout the webinar as well as during that ending session. If we run out of time and we're not able to answer your question, please do feel free to contact us at programs@fulbright.org.uk, and we'll aim to get back to you as soon as we can. I also wanted to flag that this webinar will be recorded and uploaded to our website. So please keep an eye on our website if there's anything you want to revisit throughout this. But thank you again for coming. I hope you find it useful. And I'm going to pass it over now to our panelists to introduce themselves, starting with Hilary.
Hello, welcome everybody. I was in your position this time a few years ago, and I know that I found this session very helpful for me. I'm currently an associate professor at Liverpool John Moores University, and as Jess said, I was hosted by Glucksman Island House at New York University on the Fulbright All Disciplines Scholars Award. I was researching into Irish heritage and how that had translated amongst the Irish and Irish Americans in the New York tri-state area, and generally having an amazing time.
Hi everyone, my name is Sam. I'm the Senior Program Manager for UK programs here at the US-UK Fulbright Commission, which means I work with all of our students and academics heading out from the UK to the US. Great. So what are our Fulbright UK Scholar Awards? So our Fulbright UK Scholar Awards are sort of an umbrella term for our partner awards and our all disciplines awards that support UK academics or professionals to spend anywhere between 3 and 6 months in the US. These are intended to be part of teaching or research visits to the US. So we expect anyone undertaking these awards to be looking at those specifically and not pursuing any kind of degree as part of a scholar award. Within these scholar awards, you'll be part of a scholarly community heading out from the UK to the US. And from the Fulbright Commission, you'll receive a monthly stipend, limited accident and sickness coverage, support from the Commission in terms of pre-departure support, getting ready to head out to the US, events to prepare you and help you get to know your fellow scholars, visa support from our team as well in terms of at least the initial sorting out of documentation and working with you on that process of getting to the visa. Cultural enrichment programs, both prior to going to the US and within the US, depending on where you are. And then after your grant, access to a rich global alumni network. If I could have the next slide, please, Jess. So the big part here is talking through eligibility, because as much as we would love everyone to be able to apply, there are certain things that we need to abide by and certain guidelines that we need to have in place as well. So the big one is UK citizens. Most of our applications need to come from UK citizens. We have a few little areas around that rule that I'll go into in a little bit, but as long as you're a UK citizen, you are eligible to apply, with the exception of if you are currently based in the US. So if you are someone based at a US university, or you are engaged in some kind of work within the US right now, you would not be eligible for a UK Scholar Award. Additionally, if you have dual citizenship with the US or hold a green card and are not yet a citizen, you would still also be ineligible at this point. If you are an Irish citizen who normally resides in Northern Ireland, you would be eligible for these awards. Citizens of British overseas territories are eligible for these awards. And we also have some room within these guidelines for how non-UK citizens might navigate the application, provided they're committed to life in the UK. So we would need you to provide evidence of legal status within the UK. So you can see here things like settled or pre-settled, indefinite leave to remain, that kind of thing. And then you would also need to write to the Fulbright Commission or post within countries that you do have citizenship for, and ask them whether you would be eligible or not for an award, because not every commission has that same rule that we have, that citizens of that country based anywhere in the world are eligible. Some commissions require citizens to also be resident in the country to be eligible for an application. So what we would need you to do is, if you are a non-UK citizen who is committed to life in the UK, you've got legal status that you're prepared to share with us, we will need you to make contact with the commission in the country you hold citizenship with, and for them to confirm that they cannot accept your application. And we would expect evidence of this communication as well. So within your application form, you would probably need to provide screenshots or PDFs of these emails proving that your home commission said, yes, go ahead, apply through the UK Commission, we cannot support this application. We also require all applicants to hold a PhD in a subject relevant to the award which they are applying, although, again, potentially some wiggle room here. For instance, we have an applicant or a candidate this year who is getting ready to go to the US, whose PhD is in history and is going to work in education and STEM fields for their research. So there is some maneuverability here, but we would expect candidates to hold a PhD or equivalent relevant professional degrees. So we have an award with the Royal College of Surgeons of England, where not everyone applying for this award is going to have a PhD, but we will expect them to be at a relevant stage in their career, similar with other professions like law. The other thing to say is, if you don't yet have a PhD, but you are currently in the process of obtaining a PhD, and you will have received your PhD by the time that you intend to start your Fulbright award, then you would be eligible. So let's say you're applying now, you're going to wrap up your PhD in March next year, you can absolutely still apply. If you're still going to be doing your PhD by the time that your Fulbright grant would be set to start, that would be something where we'd ask you to wait until you'd finished before applying. We don't give grants for this list of things that's right here. So if you're just trying to attend a conference, finish writing a doctoral dissertation, travel between multiple institutions. So whilst there is an award that we have with multiple hosts, and occasionally people might split their time between two hosts, we would really encourage you to spend all of your time with one single academic host. This is because Fulbright is more than just an academic exchange, it is a cultural exchange as well. And a big part of that is being immersed within a community, both a professional and academic community, but also a community where you live. And that's much harder to do if you're jumping around between different institutions, doing lots of kind of consultations and visits. So make sure you are picking one university to host you. And then clinical or medical research involving direct patient contact. So this is a very specific, if you have research that maybe is adjacent to this and you're not collecting the samples and you're not doing any clinical work, then that would come down to discretion of the commission reading the application and also some of the bodies we work with in the US. But If you have any kind of direct patient contact or are working directly in any kind of clinical work, that would also be ineligible for this kind of work. We also give some amount of preference. This isn't a strict eligibility requirement, but this is a preference thing. So those without extensive experience in the US and those who have not held a Fulbright award before. This will typically, again, be down to discretion. We have some people that have had 2 Fulbright awards, but normally there's a large amount of time between their Fulbright awards, or they're in very different award categories or something like that. Equally, when it comes to extensive experience within the US, if you have spent 5 of the last 6 years in the USA, that is also something that would make you ineligible. So consider how much time you spent in the US recently working in your field. Just kind of the next slide, please. Great, so let's talk about some of the awards that are on offer. Our largest award category, and also the one we receive the most applications for each year, so the most competitive, is our All Disciplines Award. Now, we have multiple All Disciplines Awards each year, but even still, we have the most applications, so the greatest amount of competition. These awards are available for researching or lecturing for 3 to 6 months in any discipline at any accredited US university. Bear in mind, though, what I just said about clinical work. We also have had some people involved in All Disciplines Awards hosted by non-universities. So if you're interested potentially spending time at, like, say, a large public museum or specific labs that are maybe not directly affiliated with universities, please get in touch about those as well, because there is some room, again, for maneuverability here, whether that hosts to, say, a public museum or a big library or archive. We may be able to accommodate that too. This is open to any career level. So we have had people who do something like the equivalent of a postdoc through a Fulbright UK Scholar Award, right through to people who are senior scholars or independent scholars. We've even had people who have officially retired before and then come back and do their Fulbright Award, and that sort of launched a second phase of their career. Awardees for these awards receive $5,000 in monthly stipend as contribution to any institutional costs, accommodation, and maintenance fees while in the USA. It's up to you how you spend this money, but that is what there is. So no spending more than that unless you have personal funds that you can dip into. You must independently contact and confirm hosting arrangements with their chosen institution. If you are thinking of applying, I'd be doing that now. So reaching out to colleagues at US universities or people in departments that you are interested in working with. Because Fulbright is quite a big name in the US, even cold emails at this stage are probably going to get you somewhere if you mention that you're thinking about applying for a Fulbright award, and will likely help start these conversations toward finding a host. So some recent All Disciplines Awards projects that we wanted to highlight to show sort of the diversity of career stages and different fields that people are working in include postdoctoral research into working class environmental activism within the Appalachian region, being hosted by East Tennessee State University. Some collaborative research into the impacts of automation and digitization and what that has on road haulage workers, and that's being done with Cornell University. And then independent research into Black magazine and book publishing being done at Howard University, and with a little bit of collaboration too with the Library of Congress. So 3 very different projects being done by 3 people at different stages of their careers at 3 very different universities. And I think that's the thing I really want to highlight here is the range of options that are available to you. Do not feel like you are restricted to certain universities or certain projects right now. This is wide open. And if you have questions about this, these are great questions to send in either today or by email in terms of the kind of thing you might be interested in exploring. Jessica, I have the next slide, please. Wonderful, thank you. So some other awards that we happen to offer are our partner awards. So right here are 3 of our more sort of academic awards rather than those associated with professional fields. So here we have one of our partnering organizations, the Royal Society of Edinburgh. These are open to applicants either with a connection to Scotland to conduct, so maybe working at a Scottish university or within Scotland, or do research primarily focused on Scotland. Grantees for this award receive $5,000 a month in line with all of our awards on this page and our All Disciplines Award. And this award is for 3 months. So there's no flexibility in terms of timing here. Proposals here should relate to one of the Royal Society of Edinburgh's key themes. These are climate change, environmental sustainability, economic prosperity, and social cohesion and inclusion. But these themes are quite broad. So there may be a way that your project fits into this, that you're not necessarily the direct area that you focus on researching, but might have an adjacency that you can pull on here to find a way into applying for this award. We also have our Rutgers University Newark Award. So this is a really exciting award. It's one of our newer awards. It's part of a partnership that we have with Rutgers University in Newark. This is the State University in New Jersey, and they have a really fascinating approach to education where we work with a specific center there called the Honors Living Learning Community. This is a residential educational community, and it's aimed at really widening participation within education, and they're doing some really, really interesting work within Newark and the local area. So applications here need to be to do with research into the urban environment, and the selected grantee will support with, beyond just the regular teaching and research, will support with outreach and international education opportunities, and design and deliver a flash course in collaboration with the teaching staff at Rutgers University and the Honors Living Learning Community. Again, $5,000 monthly stipend, accommodation within the Honors Living Learning Community, institutional support from Rutgers, and travel grant of up to £1,500 included within this award. And then our other university partner, Elon University. Elon University is a university in North Carolina with a really strong focus on teaching and experiential learning. This is open to applicants who intend to pursue research in any subject area, but applicants must also want to teach and have an interest in advancing the practice or study of engaged pedagogies and engaging with a community of teacher scholars. Awardees of this will also receive $5,000 monthly stipend and accommodation within Eiley International House at Elon University, and get a great amount of support from the university as well. Grantees here will teach each semester that they're there for, and this award can be applied to either a single academic semester or the entire academic year. We move on to the next slide, we'll have our 2 professional awards. So the Stephen Lawrence Award, another one of our newer awards. This one has been offered in recent years. So this award was a partnership that we have with the National Black Police Association and 3 historically Black colleges and universities in the US. So that's Howard University, the University of the District of Columbia Law School, Howard University Law School, University of District of Columbia Law School, and North Carolina Central University School of Law. So this award is hosted by those 3 universities, and the scholar gets to work out where it is they want to spend their time amongst the 3. So normally what we recommend is 2 months in DC and 1 month in Durham, North Carolina, working with each of these schools. And this is for research into, open to policing professionals to pursue research relating to law enforcement, public health, community engagement, particularly with regard to race. Then we have the Royal College of Surgeons Awards, part of our partnership with the Royal College of Surgeons of England. This is open to UK trainees who are members of RCS England to pursue research into surgery and related areas at any accredited US institution. Slightly different support package here. So grant of £2,275 a month, and the Royal College of Surgeons of England will pay the basic NHS salary of the grantee during the grant period. But as I say, projects here must not involve direct clinical contact with patients. So if you are planning to apply for this award, think about what it is that you're applying in. Okay, keep going. So what are we looking for? Fulbright Scholar Program is more than just an academic exchange. It is a cultural exchange. That's one of the things that the Fulbright Program was instituted to be. So after the Second World War, Senator Fulbright proposed this program to be a means towards a more understanding and a more peaceful world. So this isn't just about an academic exchange or an exchange of ideas, it's also about an exchange of cultures, and cultural immersion that brings about greater understanding between the US and the United Kingdom. Therefore, we expect people to approach this with a degree of openness, with curiosity, academic integrity, intellectual freedom, and really hope that our scholars embrace this opportunity to have greater mutual understanding with their colleagues and with citizens in the US. So applications to this are not just great research proposals, but you will need a great research proposal. They also show us a great deal about the candidate from a holistic perspective. So we're looking at people who are not just strong academics or researchers, but that display ambassadorial skills and intercultural sensitivity, who are really keen to spend time in the US and show why it's important for their study to be carried out within the US. We're looking for people who are interested in being involved with their community, maybe showing examples of civic engagement as well. That's a really key part of this for us. So all of this will need to go into your application. When you read the application instructions on our website, which are a crucial document, I think, toward putting together a good application, you'll see a series of questions that will go into your research proposal. Among these are questions on why does this study need to be carried out in the US, and why bring this to the US-UK Fulbright Commission? Please make sure you give time in your application over to these questions, and that you focus on giving these thoughtful and honest answers. If you have given no thought to why you need to be in the US or what makes this project a good Fulbright project, you will have a much more uphill battle in terms of getting your application through than candidates who have thought about these things. Because, as I say, Fulbright is not just an academic exchange. There are far more elements to it than that, and we expect to see people who are applying engage with all of these aspects of the Fulbright. All right. I'm going to hand over to Hilary to talk a little bit about her experience, and we'll head into more of a Q&A session.
Hi everyone, lovely to see you. It was certainly a very interesting time for me to be in New York with the current political state of the country, but it was also a very insightful time as well. The Fulbright has had a huge impact on my career. I was there last year. I only returned actually on the 28th of June. So I was there January to June, 3 seasons, 3 suitcases. And it's had a huge impact already. I've been appointed as associate professor from senior lecturer. The headspace and the time that the Fulbright allowed meant that I could get a lot of writing done as well. So I've already sent off 2 journal articles for peer review and an essay for an edited edition. And I had started a 4th one as I returned. And the contacts that you make as well during the award and during your time in the country really stand you in good stead for future collaborative work. So again, only just back, but got a potentially huge collaborative project that I'm talking about with one of my colleagues in America and a pontifical charity in Ireland. So yeah, I can't emphasize how great it is in terms of impact for you, for your career, but also personally as well. I feel I have returned a much more confident person than when I left. I had never lived anywhere else in my life. I had only ever lived on the Wirral, which is where I was born and bred. So to move to New York for that 5 months was a huge experience. I've been married for 34 years, but my husband didn't come with me. So I was footloose and fancy free in New York. But I think, that helped me. I had nobody to kind of lean on for support. So I made my own way there, and it was just fabulous. Absolutely would recommend it. I don't know shall I just carry on with some more information? Is that all right with you, Sam and Jess?
Yeah, please do, Hilary.
Yeah, lovely. I know Sam was talking about how to actually identify and get support from a potential host institution. I mean, I can't speak for your disciplines, but in my discipline, I'm Irish studies, so it really needed to be an institution that aligned with Irish studies. And it's quite niche, so there aren't very many. So I wrote off to a couple, and one came back virtually immediately. Literally, I got a reply the same day to say, we would love to host you. And I don't know, that reply, I think because it came back so quickly, that was the one that I focused on, because it meant that they were interested in my research. So they were fabulous at Glucksman Island House, and they told me, they were quite upfront to what they could offer me and what they couldn't offer me. And again, that helped me then kind of mould my application, and also decide what I was going to do about where I could have an office and where I could find accommodation. Because my particular institution is only loosely really affiliated to NYU, so there was no faculty accommodation on offer. I couldn't even have an office because they're literally a very small 2-story building with a basement, and some of their desks are in the corridors. So it was quite obvious when I arrived why I couldn't have a desk. So I had to kind of think a little bit about that, and I managed to rent a house up in the Bronx that came with office facilities. So obviously the concern there was, well, is the Wi-Fi good enough? So little things like that kind of mattered. But certainly your host institution will be your community. And it was really rare for my particular institution at Glucksman Island House. They had 3 Fulbrighters. They had 2 Irish Fulbrighters there, and a community with them as well. So it was a really nice community, and they were so helpful. And I think do lean on your institutions when you go, and do look for what they offer and where they are as well. My institution was like downtown Manhattan, so it was really easy commute. There was loads of lecture series that not just the institution had, but across the university. They offered a website you could join up to for free or very reduced price tickets to Broadway. So they were often offering something, and you'd kind of see it in the afternoon, and then you'd be at Carnegie Hall in the evening. So as Sam said, it is about that cultural exchange as well. So think about what you've got around there as well that you can engage with. I was very eager to go to Central Park and get involved there, and so I did that. And I also joined the New York Irish Centre as a volunteer, and I helped serve the senior lunch on a Wednesday, which again was a wonderful community, especially as I was there on my own. It was a regular routine on a Wednesday off to the Irish Centre, seeing all the people that were there who were just wonderful and welcoming and warm-hearted. And I had such wonderful experiences going for trips out with them, having my lunch with them. I played bingo for the first time ever. So think about where you're going and who you're going to. Make sure it aligns with your research, but also make sure it's somewhere you want to go, because if it's somewhere you want to go, then you will get more out of that opportunity. As I say, I really enjoyed being part of the community. That was one of the things that I really got out of the Fulbright. And because I chose New York, it really is the city that never sleeps. There were so many opportunities to go to Carnegie Hall, to Broadway, to the New York Philharmonic, to the Met Opera. They all offer these bargain websites where you can get tickets for $5. I even managed to see the New York Philharmonic orchestra in Central Park at a free concert, and the atmosphere was just absolutely phenomenal. I wanted to immerse myself in New York, so I wasn't a Fulbrighter that wanted to travel throughout the US. I wanted to get the most I could out of the city that I was living in. But that didn't mean I didn't see other Fulbrighters, because your Fulbright cohort is really important to you. They're a great source of support and help and strength. And I had the opportunity to host some of them where I lived. And then I had the opportunity myself to go to Boston and to Washington just for a few days. So I'd say to you, go for it, but be sure that your project is ready, and be sure that you are ready too. The Fulbright team, Sam and Jess and Rebecca, they're absolutely amazing, and they will offer you the most brilliant support and answer the most stupid of questions that you could possibly have. But they're on hand to support you and help you to get to where you want to go, to help you get your Fulbright, and to help you have a fantastic time while you're there. It's definitely going to be one of the most special experiences in your life, because it's certainly been one of mine. So I think that's me, unless anybody wants me to say anything else.
It looks like Jess is having some audio issues, so maybe if I could ask you a couple of questions, Hilary, while we let Jess troubleshoot that one. I'm sure you maybe covered this a little bit, but I think it's one of the things that people are maybe, or we get a lot of questions about this, and I think it can be a little bit of an anxiety-inducing part of the process. When it came to reaching out to your host, what kind of approach did you take with these people that you already had a working relationship with, or was this the start of your working relationship with them?
No, mine was completely cold calling. I tried a university in DC. I didn't even get a response from them. And then I tried Glucksman Island House, and I explained to them what I wanted to do in terms of my project. I did my research well, so I knew what that institution could offer, what archives they had, what resources. I even looked at all the members of staff to see if any of the members of staff had an alignment with my area of research, which they did. So I kind of tried to sell myself to them in my email, but I didn't know anybody there, and I had no introduction. Nobody had said to me, oh, try, so-and-so at this institution. I just literally, stuck my finger in the wind, Googled who had Irish institutes there, and then I took it from there. But it was a nice, polite email explaining why I wanted to go to them, why I had chosen them, what I wanted to do, and if they would be willing to support me. And they came back straight away. And I had a really, really strong and good relationship with them throughout the whole time, and still now as well.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much. I think that one of the takeaways from that really should be don't be afraid to email someone out of the blue and to follow that opportunity, because I think a lot of concern perhaps comes from people who sort of expect, oh, well, if I don't have a working relationship already with this institution, then why would they take an interest in me? And I think both in terms of like trust that your proposal is good, trust that people will be interested in your research, but also there is a familiarity with Fulbright and excitement around Fulbright in the US that perhaps doesn't have quite the same kind of sway in the UK at this point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with the Fulbright. Sometimes I mention the Fulbright here in the UK and people just don't know what it is. When I was in America, and I'd say to people say, well, what are you doing here? I say, well, I'm here to research. Oh, how have you managed that? I said, well, I'm on a scholarship. Oh, I'm with a Fulbright. And a few people actually shook my hand and said, congratulations, that's absolutely amazing. So it's very, very well known in the US, and I think just the mention of it is enough to open a door in the US. But they also have a different email culture, I discovered when I was in America. I mean, I'm very British, and if I ask somebody, like, I didn't chase up the university in DC. I thought, well, that's it, they're not going to reply, they're not interested. Whereas actually my director of school at Glucksman Island House said to me, oh, you're being too British. If somebody hasn't answered, then write to them again and ask them again. That's what we do in America. So I wouldn't be afraid of asking, and if you get no response, chasing it up. If I knew that now, I would have chased up, the other one as well, but I didn't, because I was very British, and I'm didn't think it was the done thing.
Sorry, Jess, we still can't hear you. How would you say, so you talked, I suppose, a little bit about the learning more about the difference between working cultures in the US and UK, but sort of based on your experience in New York, how would you say your understanding of America changed based on this experience?
Oh dear. I think I became a lot more involved in the country and took a lot more interest in watching news reports and reading news articles and speaking to people. And yeah, it was a really interesting time to be in New York, merely because of the political situation with the new administration. So I think it has made me warm more towards, certainly for New York. I kind of anticipated that people would be a bit brash and rude in New York, which is an assumption that I had made just really on my own kind of, what I'd seen here in the UK, and that was really the wrong assumption to make. I didn't meet anybody who was rude or brash in America. They were just wonderful. I didn't meet anybody that wasn't polite, kind, helpful, understanding, encouraging. So yeah, I think a lesson learned for me. But yeah, America has a lot of problems. It has a lot of homelessness in New York. I'm used to that because I work in Liverpool, so I'm used to homelessness, but not quite on the scale of America. So there's, from that perspective, it could be quite upsetting sometimes going out and about and seeing so many homeless and feeling a little bit helpless as to what you could do to help them. But yeah, if you ask me tomorrow to get on a plane and go back to New York, I'd say, yeah, where's my ticket?
Great. Before we turn to some questions from our audience, if you could give like one top tip on applying, what would that be?
Top tip on
starting an application.
Preparation. Get your ducks in a row before you even think about putting pen to paper. Make sure that you have, make sure you really know that subject, and just get all the information. Look in as many sources of help as you possibly can before you start. But when you do start, make sure you go through and tick all the boxes. I'm a real box ticker because I came from an administrative background. Make sure you tick all the boxes that the Fulbright are asking for, because if there's one of those things that they're asking for missing, somebody else will have them all.
Well, Hilary, thank you for answering our questions so far. I'm going to hand over to Jess to see if audio issues have been fixed, and then I think we're going to turn to some questions from our audience.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Can I check? Can you hear me now? Wonderful. Okay, so our first question relates a little bit more to the requirement for a PhD or relevant experience. So someone wants to know whether a medical degree and a master's in medicine be sufficient relevant experience in place of a PhD. So maybe Sam, this might be one for you.
Yeah, I think this would sort of depend on what the application is and what your experience looks like up until the stage. And I know that's not a particularly helpful response, but I would encourage you to apply anyway. I know that we regularly have people who work in the field of medicine who don't necessarily have a PhD at time of application, just because of how medical careers tend to go. Like it's something often if people do tend to do it, it's maybe a little bit later in their career than in other fields. So I wouldn't be put off, and I would recommend applying.
Fantastic, thank you. And we have another question which relates to the competitiveness of the Scholar Awards. In general, how many would you say are awarded each year roughly? And perhaps you might want to distinguish here between the Partner Awards and the All Disciplines Awards.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jess. So each year we select about 10 to 12 scholars. And this is something you can see on our website. So if you go on our website and along the top bar on our website, you will find a section called Our Community. And if you click on the drop down and go to Meet Our Grantees, you will be able to see our scholar cohorts going all the way back to 2020, I think, at this point in time. Now, I bring this up not only because this way you can see sort of the size of our UK scholar cohorts each year, but also there's a question in the Q&A about whether we have a repository of applications that we're able to let people see. We can't let people see applications, but what you can do is look at the scholars in our recent cohorts and see the kinds of things that people are doing. So you'll get a sense of the kinds of projects that people are involved in. That said, I also think it's important that you bring your own voice and experience to your applications, which you can't do just by using someone else's application as a template.
I think just to add to that one as well, we will be having another webinar which will kind of focus on how do you create a competitive application. Registration for that will go live on our website in the coming weeks. So if you're interested in kind of hearing about other kind of applications, what has been successful, kind of delving a little bit more into what we talked about in terms of what we're looking for, this is a really fantastic opportunity. So please do keep an eye on our website for more information on that. And then Sam,
oh, sorry, I realized I didn't answer the second half of your question, which is on the difference between All Disciplines and Partner Awards. Because our Partner Awards tend to be a little bit more specific in terms of either host, institution, or the kinds of subjects that you can apply to do through our Partner Awards. They tend to be a little bit more of a strategic route to make your application more competitive. So whilst for each Partner Award, there's typically only one award offered, there may be a case where if it works out in this way that through the Elon Award, we might support someone for one semester and then a different scholar for a second semester. But in most cases, there's only one award given for each of our Partner Awards. But because of that specificity, it may be that your application is in a smaller pool of applications that you are being read within and interviewed within. So it may be a more strategic route if you find a way that your application is applicable to a specific partner.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We have another question here, which is talking about the current political climate in the US and the impact of the current administration. And they're asking about the applications and how those are operating in the kind of current political climate, particularly in terms of the Fulbright board. I wonder if you could speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course. So the question has highlighted the Fulbright Foreign Scholarship Board and the resignation of a number of members of the Fulbright Foreign Scholarship Board. So the Fulbright Foreign Scholarship Board is a board that we need to send our nominated applications to, but it does not currently define or impact our selection processes. So the US-UK Fulbright Commission is committed to academic freedom and a rigorous merit-based selection process. Candidates should, however, note that final approval for Fulbright grants is made by the Fulbright Foreign Scholarship Board at this point, and members of this board are appointed by the President of the United States. The FFSB may be instructed to ensure that selected projects are in accordance with executive orders issued by the US President. Thus, a situation may arise in which, despite a positive nomination from the Commission in the UK, a project may not be approved by the FFSB. That said, this is a situation that is still unfolding. It's a dynamic situation right now, and I wouldn't encourage it being a situation that puts anyone off of applying. because we're still learning exactly what the impact is going to be moving forward. And as I say here at the US UK Fulbright Commission, just to reiterate the very beginning of what I said, because I think it is important, we are committed to academic freedom and a rigorous merit-based selection process. So do not let this news put you off of applying. It is a ever-changing situation, and we're still trying to, as I say, learn what the impact will be.
Thank you so much. And I would say as well, if you have questions about this that maybe are more related to a more personal matter or related to a bit more in-depth in your project, please do feel free to contact us by email. We're really happy to, talk this through a little bit more. Hilary, we have a question for you now. So to what extent was your proposal your own, or how much was it collaborative? And they kind of want to know, how was it supported? How did the host institution support it, and how did it also relate back to, fostering that mutual understanding with the UK?
Oh yeah, so it was a sole project. So I was the sole researcher, the person doing everything. When I arrived at the host institution, they knew what I was going to do. When I arrived at the host institution, they were quite laid back about it all. I must admit. As somebody who teaches kind of 16, 18 hours a week in a university, it felt very strange. I felt a little like I was skiving the first month that I got there, because I wanted to go all guns blazing, and my director of school saying, yeah, well, we're not back till the end of January. Come in and see me then, and then we'll have a chat about it. So I kind of tried to go to the libraries. I got my registration sorted out so I could do the documentary archival research part. And then he was very, very relaxed about it, and he just said, we're here to support. Whatever support you want is available. He invited me into a whole of staff meeting, and I explained what my project was to the whole of the staff at the institute. And they all then came on board with suggestions to help me make contacts, because there was a lot of interviewing involved in my research. So they offered suggestions as to who I could speak to, and they would put me in touch with people, and then the research kind of then took off from there, really. But it felt quite slow in getting started, but so very, very supportive. And because they're the Irish Institute, didn't have any connections when I went, and their connections were just so amazing. I got to meet the Irish Consul General twice. I went to galas with Siobhan McSweeney from Derry Girls and the Great Pottery Throwdown. It was just, they involved me as much as they could to get me involved with as many people as I possibly could. So although it kind of wasn't an official, they weren't officially involved in the project, they played a huge part in helping me to achieve my aims and goals of the project. I hope, does that explain, is that answer okay?
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Hilary. And then Sam, we've got a couple of logistical questions.
Yeah.
So in terms of the timeline for the awards, obviously the applications close on the 3rd of November, and departures can take place from August 2026. But when is the latest that an applicant can begin their award?
Yeah, so typically awards can be taken up anytime within the period from August at the start of the academic year through to April, approaching the end of the American academic year. And that's the start of your award. So you could start your award in late April if you really wanted to. Normally, we find people tend to start their awards either in August or January at the start of the semesters. And that's typically what we would recommend, is sort of a September, like very late August, early September start, or a January start. But there is a little bit of flexibility throughout the academic year into when you can start.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And then could you speak a little, we have a question from someone who's asking about whether the host institution in the US can include an academic who's an honorary professor or a part-time professor at their UK institution and who they already collaborate with? Is there any regulations on the US institution and the collaborating partners there?
No, provided it's an accredited US university, then that should be absolutely fine. And in fact, I remember supporting applications in the past from a UK-based scholar who had previously worked with someone who was now at the US university they were going to, and maintaining that collaboration through the project. So it's not something that would be completely novel to work with someone you already worked with.
Fantastic. And then we have a question from someone here who has recently completed their PhD, but they've not yet found a permanent position. They're asking if they're still eligible to apply despite not being part of an institution or university at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And this happens at any stage within an academic career. If you have a PhD and you are not currently employed by a university, that is not something that would count against you at this time, right? We support independent scholars. We have independent scholars this year who are not aligned or affiliated with universities in the UK, and that's something we intend to keep doing. So if you don't currently have a permanent home at a UK university, please do not worry. You are more than welcome to send them.
Fantastic. We've also got a question here about determining whether a post project is suitable for a longer stay versus a 3 to 6 month stay. So just to provide some clarity on this, if you're planning to apply for an all disciplines award, these awards are only eligible for projects, proposals that are between 3 to 6 months. If you want to apply for a partner award, these have their own individual time limits. So I would recommend, if you're thinking about what award to go for, think about the kind of links that are on offer. So if you did need a full-term project, that would not be supported under the All Disciplines Award. Sam, I'm not sure if you want to add any more to that one.
Yeah, currently our only award that supports a full academic year is with Elon University. So that would be where I'd encourage you to look. But otherwise, most of our awards fall somewhere between that 3 and 6 month period.
Fantastic. Another question has come in about support to identify suitable US institutions or universities in terms of their research specialisms or alignments with specific projects. Unfortunately, we cannot provide this service ourselves just due to capacity, but what I would really recommend looking into is talking to people in your network about who they collaborate with, looking on our website to see where other scholars have gone, and also looking not just at the UK grantees on our website, but also at our US grantees. We have a number of US academics who come into the UK every year representing a range of disciplines, from anthropology to biomedical engineering to journalism. So I would really recommend looking into their profiles, and you can see some of the universities and institutions in the US that they're coming from. I think that's another really great resource to see what's happening on that side. As well, if you look on the Fulbright Scholars website, they have a directory of previous grantees across the width and breadth of the program. So you can search that by discipline as well and see who in your field has gone to the US, to the UK, to Australia, to Greece, to India, and you can kind of see the different places they've gone, the fields they represent, and the institutions they are representing out there. So that's some resources that you can use to find out a little bit more about kind of US universities or institutions. And Sam, I don't know if you want to add anything onto that one, or Hilary.
I guess to pick up from you, Jess, there will be people that you've listened to speak at conferences or who you've read in journals, and through sort of your wider academic discipline, there will be, I think, people whose research aligns with yours in really interesting ways. And I would encourage you, as Hilary did, just to send some cold emails and see if you find any positive moves that way, because it is far more common than you think to just reach out to people and see if there's room to collaborate like this. And I would recommend doing it. I think it's like I say, it's more of the culture to start reaching out that way. And I'm sure through the work that you do and the kind of research that you do, if there are people working on the in the US, you will be aware of them, if not directly already, just because of how you engage with your field. So chase up some of those connections, see if there's routes for you to find a host that way.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We have another question in here. Someone is asking about what if you have a dependent or a partner, is there routes to bring them along? So Sam, maybe you want to speak a little bit about this one, if you have a...
Yeah, so the Fulbright program functions through a J1 visa. And as a J1 visa holder, you are able to bring with you dependents on J2 visas. Now, to be a dependent who is eligible for a J2 visa, you need to either be a spouse or an unmarried child under the age of 21. So partners who are not spouses currently ineligible for J2 visas, as are older adult children. But anyone who falls into the eligibility as a dependent is someone that you are welcome to bring with you for the entirety of your grant on a J2 visa. That said, we don't increase funding for dependents, so you would still have the same stipend, which means you will probably need to demonstrate additional funds to be able to support your dependent while they're with you in the US. Your dependent also doesn't receive some of the benefits that you as a Fulbrighter will receive. So that limited accident and sickness coverage does not apply to your dependents. So all dependents also need to be covered by health insurance. So you will need to do that, research yourself into appropriate health insurance for when your dependents are with you in the US. This is not an insurmountable barrier. We do have people who bring dependents with them every year, but there are some things that you might want to bear in mind before committing to bringing your dependents with you.
Thank you so much. And we just have one more question here, which is someone would like to apply for an award to explore a research field and learn new skills that are different to their current PhD studies, but which are still related. And they want to know, are applications that kind of look at this considered, or would you need to be kind of doing prior research? Would you need to have that prior research experience in the field?
It's going to sound like I'm sidestepping the question, but I'm really not. This starts with an it depends. So it will depend on the research proposal and how you're planning to do this research. I would also take this opportunity to remind you that you cannot use a scholar award to pursue a degree. So you can, for instance, use this award to go and get another master's in those new skills or research fields. But if you want to begin working with people in the US, like collaborating on certain things that would take you somewhat away from where your PhD lies, that is understandable, and a way that people have used these awards before. I would point you towards this year, for instance. Mentioned it earlier in the webinar, but we have a Fulbright scholar this year who has a PhD in a history field, who is now working in a chemistry department and is working on advancing how pedagogy works within STEM. So it's not outlandish to do these kind of interesting moves away from what your PhD is. But as I say, it will sort of depend on the application and how you wish to, or how you articulate doing this.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sam. So we just have one question here, which is about teaching and how someone should approach a teaching-focused application, as it can vary a lot between to a research-led application. And then that will be the end of our questions.
Yeah, in terms of what it is you're teaching, think about like the specific courses or syllabi that it is that you want to bring to your host institution, how you would engage with their teaching practices, how you plan to learn from it. The project itself could be learning about how you teach a course in a different context, or how different university environments influence the way that you teach. You could be learning different methods of engaging within a classroom, for instance. There's lots of ways that you can phrase this as a teaching project, or it could be that you're collaborating with a specific person in the US, for instance, maybe someone who you've taught with online and now co-teaching with in person. There's different ways you could build this application out, but there should be sort of a reason why you would be teaching this course in the US, and what it is about this specific course that makes it an interesting one to teach in the US and at your host. So Jess, thank you for your work hosting this webinar and for soldiering through some of the audio issues. Hilary, thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us and share your experiences. It's been really valuable. As a reminder to everyone in attendance, applications are going to close on Monday, the 3rd of November at 5 p.m. GMT. If you would like more information, please do chat to us. So you can email us at programs@fulbright.org.uk. I would also recommend you sign up for our mailing list, which you can do on the Fulbright website. And our website is a great resource to go to in general. I've referenced it a few times already within the webinar, and that's because I genuinely believe it will help you put together some great applications. Consider joining our upcoming webinar as well on submitting a competitive application. Registration is going to be launched soon when we finalize the date. We'll have an alum with us as well talking through their approach to the application too. So it's a great opportunity to ask some questions of someone who's been through this experience and who will be talking about their application. If you are ready to apply and you're thinking about applying, I would encourage you to go and read our application instructions and terms and conditions on our website. These are not just a list of how to go to the website and complete an application. There is some really valuable information here that I think will improve the quality of your application, so make sure you're reading that. And a link to apply can be found on the Fulbright website and within the application instruction document. So please make sure you are using those resources. And if you've got any more questions or would like any more advice, please do get in touch. But thank you so much for coming along today and for your time, and really looking forward to reading your applications come the winter.
Thank you so much, everyone. So this is the end of the webinar. Thank you for attending. As I said, this recording will be available